Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the extra time match review for the Everton 2 Chelsea nil game at Goodison Park a couple of days ago. I'm joined here with Stephen and John. How are you both doing?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, good. Good in a good run of form now. Really happy.
Yeah. So before we get into what actually happened in the game, let's go to what happened before the game. How did you both feel when you first saw the lineup going into the game?
I'll let you go first, John.
Okay, thank you very much, Stephen. I think it's very much of a muchness, really, Callum. I don't think Sean Dyche is one. He's not really a tinker man. You're not going to get much of the Claudio Ranieri about him. I think if Dyche finds a formula, he goes with it. I know there's a clamour, and I'm one of them to maybe see Nathan Patterson start more games, but he does seem to be very loyal to Ashley Young. Whether it's best the devil you know. I think Garner's done okay. I think that's what got him the nod. Again, an honour. I really think he's the tip of the iceberg. But I kind of was expecting the lineup that we saw, and as it worked out, it seemed to it did the trick for us.
I wasn't surprised by it because I was expecting him to come back in. But I mean, we'll talk about it later. How many substitutions he made that changed the game, bringing Patterson and Onana on. So, to be honest, I wasn't too disheartened by him. Keeping Idrissa Gueye in the team and bringing Young in because results speak for themselves, and we've been in a good run of form. So really, I'm not going to question that too much.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing with Sean Dyche. He's got a lot of faith from the fans now because the results have started coming in after that early little slip in the season. But the first half, it was a bit of a difficult one. There wasn't really many chances created. Not much really happened besides the substitute for Ashley Young, and then of course just a Gay going off for getting an early yellow card. What were your thoughts on that first game? We'll start with you, Stephen. The first half, sorry.
I was really impressed with the first half. I mean, I think we played very similar in the first half on Sunday to how we played against Newcastle. And at half time, I was pretty optimistic because against Newcastle, a little bit nervous at half time, of course. But um, after that Newcastle game and being 0-0 at half time and soaking up pressure in the first half, but keeping an eye up the pitch, I had a bit more faith in them at half time. After that first half, I thought we played pretty well. We reduced Chelsea to, they had a lot of the ball and they had a couple of chances, but on the whole, I just thought we played quite well. I don't want to speak too soon, but it seems like that horrible trait that we've got of conceding just before half time seems to have hopefully gone away now. And I think I was really impressed with the first half performance personally.
Yeah, John, what did you think?
I'd have to very much echo what Steven said. I mean, I think Chelsea are a really funny team. They're part of the Super Six. They can seemingly spend what they like, but they have a glut of world class talent. Likes of Conor Gallagher, Fernandez. Big money signings. And Dyche kind of reminds me of, as a boxing fan, he reminds me of them boxers who wants to feel someone out the first 3 or 4 rounds, gauge what he's up against, and a lot of people are comparing very tentatively to the Dyche era being as settled we've been since Moyes, but I'm old enough to remember the Royal era. And Joe Roll under the Dogs of War did do that. There was a lot. I always remember his first game against Liverpool, and the first half was very much a war of attrition. Feel it out, let the presence, almost let the crowd bubble up, and then the second half, he seems to have got us into a mentality where under Lampard and previous managers, we were kind of all over the shop, and we'd be a couple of goals down, then we'd start playing. Dyche kind of emasculates teams, feels them out. He doesn't really want the ball. A lot of people complain about possession football, having have 28-30% possession, but it's almost like Dyche wants to feel them out. So I thought it's a very professional performance, and everyone wants to see an Everton team of the 1980s marauding and playing wonderful football. Dyche doesn't do that because I don't believe he think at the moment he has the full team to do that. I think he'll look at sides and think, well, maybe certainly on the pitch, on the ground, they might be better than us. So I think he's almost playing to Everton's strengths, using that pack congested midfield, the like see James Garner to go and, Dwight McNeil, Jack Harrison to field teams out. And then by the second half, it's almost like he's got a bit of a grip on it. So I'd have to agree with Steve. I thought it was a very professional performance, a very Dyche performance, but with a touch of real quality thrown in.
Yeah, and I think, at halftime we saw the changes, of course, one due to injury, one mainly probably due to that yellow card and not trusting Adjustagate, not trusting Adjustagate, but the sense of the way the game were going, he could have felt that red card coming. How do you feel the two substitutes impacted the game? Because I feel like Onana, especially, I don't think he did anything huge. But probably the only big thing I can really think of is that amazing tackle on Palmer towards the end of the game, where he just threw himself in and won the ball. But how do you think those substitutes really impacted the game when they came on?
Uh, Onana particularly was one that although Adrisuke was on a yellow card, he was one I was calling for at half time. I feel like we struggled to get the ball out of from under our feet in midfield and, press forward and have that pace. And, Onana brought that sort of nonchalant turn on the ball that he likes to do, picking it up deep in our half and turning and looking wide. That was something that we were missing, I think, in the first half. So when he brought him on at half time, it just really, I was very pleased with it because obviously making a sub at half time, I think a lot of managers do. They sort of struggle to do that. They fear it. They fear that it sort of gives off an order of you don't know what you're doing. You've made the wrong decision. But I think Onana coming on certainly helped. And Nathan Patterson again, he come on, he was solid, didn't do anything wrong. Hardly put a foot wrong. Defended well. He loves a cross over the bar, doesn't he? A defensive cross over the headed over the bar from a cross. So he came on and he just, for me, we needed that pace. I think Mudryk was getting far too much joy down the left wing. So having someone a bit faster than Ashley Young certainly helped.
Yeah. John, how do you feel about the substitutions?
I think they opened the game out, Callum, to be honest with you. I think, I'm a big fan of Adjustagate, what he's done for us, but almost Adjustagate, I kind of prefer him away from home. I think Onana, a lot of people say, as Steve, he can be a bit nonchalant, but he's a class act. He's big, he's strong, he's happy to carry the ball. And I also think as well, I think there's a lot of components that are helping him. And I personally think Garner, as in James, is a better player with Onana on the pitch. It's almost like he knows his role a little bit more. He allows Onana to, and Garner does what he does. Nathan Patterson, I think everyone will rightly point towards the ball for the goal for Beto's goal against Newcastle. But, he gives you that, Patterson, he gives you that more raw energy. Ashley Young is never a right back by trade. So I thought with Patterson and Onana, I thought the energy was there. It was almost like, well, we've soaked up what we need to soak up now. Now what can we do? And they were very positive substitution. They kind of opened Chelsea up a little bit as Mudryk was getting a lot of joy. Patterson give him something else to think about. So I think substitution-wise, he's been slagged off for it. I think Dyche literally nails them on the head.
Yeah, and I think, if we move on to the second half, we move on to the goal. A little bit of, it's a recurring pattern, and especially one that followed Calvert-Lewin in his older days at Everton anyway, was that struggle one-on-one. But I think what a lot of people don't realise is the improvement on the ball and linking up and being able to bring the wingers into the game. But how did you feel about that goal? Of course, it's a great through ball from McNeil to Calvert-Lewin. And I do think in Calvert-Lewin's defence, I think it was good goalkeeping from Sanchez. I think Sanchez did a great job of rushing out, seeing what was coming immediately. I think it was good eyesight because I think he knew Calvert-Lewin was winning that race against the centre-half. But then Decore gets it at a bit of a tight angle and still manages to fire it in that bottom corner. How did you feel? Because for me, especially, it was a big... When we scored, and I think this is one thing that a lot of people on Twitter have said, and I think I agree with, in the sense that with this Everton team, when we can go 1-0 up, it really feels like we can hold on to the game now, and we've proven that. I think we haven't lost a game when we've gone 1-0 up or when we took the lead under Sean Dyche. How did you feel? Did you have that similar feeling that when that first goal went in, it was almost like a weight lifted off your shoulder?
I was a little bit more apprehensive than I was against Newcastle, and I'm not entirely sure why that was. It felt in a little bit in that period after the goal, Chelsea had a bit more of a go than Newcastle did. The goal itself, to me, it felt a little bit like, I wouldn't want to say a sucker punch, but a sort of a one that makes you sit back and think, okay, well, I'd struggle to find the word for it. It was a tactical goal, really, wasn't it? Because within the mad chess match that was that match, and I think from a neutral point of view, if you're a bit of a football purist, it was a really good match to watch. Getting that goal made the game so much more exciting, which is what I didn't want. I just wanted the game to settle down a bit. But when the goal went in, still half an hour to go, and you mentioned there as well, Callum. I thought the same thing coming out of the match. I haven't checked it, but whenever we go 1-0 up, we never seem to drop points. But no, he took the goal well. I mean, what can you expect from Doucouré? We'll talk a bit more about him on the channel coming up. But yeah, he puts his head down, he smashes it as hard as he can to the bottom corner. And from that point then on in the game, it really made Chelsea have to exert a bit more energy. I feel like they were able in the first half to use their quality to move the ball around the pitch and try and drag our players out of position. When they went 1-0 down, they had to use a bit more pace and a bit more energy. I think that's exactly what Sean Dyche wanted. So a perfect time to score really and set the tempo for the rest of that half, I thought.
Yeah, John, what were your thoughts?
Well, I'm actually, do you know what? Normally I'm Mr. Pessimist, but I was a bit more confident than Stephen. I thought when we scored, I thought it was almost like, I think the word I'd use would be reward. You see in Everton, I think Tarkowski epitomised what Everton's all about, the blocks, getting involved, battling, talking. But when that break happened, people say there's not much pace. McNeil was clearly fouled. His ability to run with the ball is becoming second to none. The pass for Calvert-Lewin was exquisite. And, Calvert-Lewin I thought did well. I thought it was a great piece of keeping. But I actually thought with Doucouré, he smashes it. But there's a real element of precision. With Newcastle, he wallops that ball with all his might. There's a real element of position here. He's becoming, dare I say it, a very, very capable number 10. When, I think people had ideas of Doucouré becoming 8, but that in behind the striker, he sort of marshals that box. No one's getting near him. He's like some sort of guard dog. He's having the prey first. I thought the finish was amazing, but I think it was a reward for Everton's hard work. It was right. We've soaked everything up. Let's hit them. And I think it was just there was a real knowledge and confidence of where everyone was. The defence knew how to break. McNeil knew how to go. His ball to Calvert-Lewin, as I said before, was exquisite. And Doucouré is becoming, it's a really nice little knack he's got. He knows exactly where that ball's going to break. That's not lucky. He's watching that ball. He's watching that move all the time. And for me, it was a reward. And I think once we went 1-0 up, I'm sitting there going, do you know what? I think we can get another one. I think the past couple of weeks we've shown that actually we're not just a 1-0 team. Actually, Goodison's becoming aware as we go 1-0 up. I think we're more likely to get a second rather than concede an equaliser. And I just think the solid. Everyone seems to know what they're doing. Your role's that. Your role's that. And I think when Everton get that goal and we are becoming good second half scorers like in Newcastle, it's almost like actually this is a reward for our work. Let's go and get more.
Yeah, I think as well, to move on, we mentioned Calvert-Lewin there, we mentioned a few other players, but, when I did my instant match reaction, or the player ratings was what I did, I couldn't really pick out, besides Idrissa Gueye, someone who had, and I don't think Idrissa Gueye had a relatively bad performance, but anyone who, I'd say played below that 7. I think the only one I gave below really might have been Harrison for the few losing the ball. But again, that's if you're going to be really strenuous and nitpick everything you do, like you have to do with those player ratings. Is there anyone from the team that's getting regular minutes now from the past few games you've seen where we have been, 1-3 in a row now? We've already practically threw that 10-point deduction out of the window already. Is there anyone you two think needs to improve? And after this game, you think, well, with the way the team's playing now, it might get a bit more competitive in their position, especially with, who we'll mention now for the second goal, Lewis Dobbin getting a goal, a very well-taken finish as well, where Sean Dyche might look at someone like Dobbin now. Of course, there's still Danjuma in the squad, and of course, I think that's a good one to mention as well, that he did seem to pick Dobbin over Danjuma in this game. But is there a chance for someone like Dobbin to maybe squeeze into the starting 11? Of course, then there's the midfield roles where I think we've got a lot of talent, to be fair, in the midfield. Is there anyone you two think really needs to almost knuckle down and put in some really standout performances to show that they're ready to start, almost like a Mikalenko-like improvement?
No, I don't think there is. I think one of the things that Sean Dyche has done so well since he's came into Everton is he's managed to get rid of players who can't play more than one position. He's managed to somehow make the squad smaller, but make it bigger at the same time, and that we've got substitutes to bring on the pitch. We've gotten rid of a lot of, I don't want to say dead wood, but we've cleared out a lot of players, but managed to seem to have a fuller squad. I don't think there's a player in the team, and I was saying this coming out on Sunday. And I'm glad I didn't have your job, Callum, because if I was doing the player ratings, I would have given them all 10s because I think it was a perfect performance. It was an absolutely perfect Everton performance. Everything you want from our club and our team. I think maybe you can maybe make a shout for Calvert-Lewin. He's not scored in a couple of games. That could maybe be it. But again, his role in the team is so vital, and that he probably knows he's not going to get as many goals as he might have got under Ancelotti. But his role in the team is far more important than just putting the ball in the back of the net. So for that reason alone, no, I don't think there is anyone who can improve. And with regards to Lewis Dobbin, I think one mistake we don't want to make is throwing him in too early, and throwing him to the Everton dogs, if you like, and letting him fend for himself. He's managed him brilliantly, and the way he brought him on did shock me, bringing him on over Danjuma, but he brought him on and he got his goal. He was clearly very hungry to get that goal, and he was very relieved when he did get it. I don't think he touched one blade of grass on the way when he ran off after scoring it. So, no, I think Dobbin's one of them that I wouldn't just throw him in now. I think we've got two very, very good wingers in Dwight McNeil and Jack Harrison who both fit this system perfectly, down to the ground, and I don't think there is a left winger like McNeil in this league. I'm not saying he's the best in the league by any stretch of the imagination, but there's no player who can play on that left-hand side who is as good at what he does as him. You can kick a ball at him 80 miles an hour and it'll stick to him like Velcro. He's got a yard of pace to him. He can whip a ball. He manages to work space all the time. So no, long story short, I don't think there's anyone who can improve at the moment. Maybe, a more pragmatic, forward-thinking person than me would say that there is, but I can't see anybody.
Do you agree, John, or can you think of anyone?
I think you've got to say, you look at the players and everyone's standing up. I suppose, could you say Ashley Young has to improve, or do we have to accept Ashley Young's 38? I think Ashley Young's pulling his tripe out in a position it's not his. He's been brought in purely for experience. I think I would say if fully fit Coleman, he might look to some wiggle room there. I'd like to think Patterson's the heir apparent. I don't think he's totally settled on him yet, but he's been right so far with most of the decisions he's made. Jack Harrison, a lot of people will say, and I think you make a very good point about him losing the ball, but I do like Harrison's work rate. I do think what he does for this team, could he improve? No, I think he's working very, very hard. And I think what Dyche put in, I suppose the one I could say maybe could improve, because I think potentially he is potentially the best player we have, will probably be Onana. I think Dyche is very much a 7 out of 10 man. He likes 7 out of 10. Tarkowski will always give you that, whereas Onana will sometimes play like he's unplayable, maybe have some games where he's a bit. So I think that's probably why you'll always see Idrissa Gueye get more minutes. But you look at Everton as a side, and as you say, I will say, Stephen, I think we did have a lot of deadwood. I think we had a lot of poor attitudes. And we seem to have galvanised this squad into a squad that plays together very regularly, knows its positions, knows what it means to play for Everton, and as importantly, knows what it means to play for Sean Dyche. So, yeah, you might turn around and say Harrison, maybe certain aspects of his game might see him get dropped, but for who? I don't think Danjuma works as hard for him, and I totally agree with Lewis Dobbin. We've all seen him. James Vaughan was going to be the next big thing, and injury held him back. Ross Barkley. I think the academy is living under so much of a Wayne Rooney-sized shadow. It's going to take something incredibly special, or something very, very well managed, to really blood that youngster into the team. And Lewis Dobbin, to me, long may he continue that pace, that willingness, that drive coming off the bench. I think he's doing himself no harm coming off the bench. Now, he's part of the setup. He's got his first goal. And again, very sound, very Sean Dyche here. Why fix what isn't broke? Teams winning, teams competing.
Yeah, I just want to throw in there, after what John said, the don't fix it if it's not broke thing. I don't think he necessarily doesn't like Danjuma. I think Danjuma's a really good player. It's not Arnold Danjuma's fault that he's not playing. It's Dwight McNeil's fault that he isn't playing, because Dwight McNeil is playing so well, and you would have to be very short-sighted and very stupid to drop either of them wingers at this point. He's just unlucky with the case that There's two players playing out of their skin at the moment. And it's a very, very long season. So, we're only in December. We've still got 5 months of the season to go. He'll certainly make appearances between now and the end of the season. So, and his attitude seems to be very good. He's, we always see him on the club's social media or in the behind the scenes videos. He's always smiling. He seems to have a lot of friends in the dressing room. Clearly likes being at the club. And I think he'd probably tell you that as well. That these two wingers are playing so well that that he's not going to get a spot in the team until one of them has to come out.
Yeah, and the last question for this video for you both is: who was your man of the match for the game? John, do you want to start?
Do you want to go first, John?
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I am a left pegger, so I've always had a soft spot for the left side of the players, and he's a player I'm going to go for purely because, as a massive fan of Dwight McNeil, I think what is going under the radar, and I'm not saying it's by any chance Baines and Peanut, I'm going to go with Mykolenko. I think he's so improved. I think he was always a fierce tackler, but he suddenly added the facets of his game to actually become productive up the other end of the pitch. And I think when I watch McNeil, I think McNeil is playing better because he knows he's got reliability behind him. They are such an underrated, understated partnership. Everton's left side is so strong. So I go with Mykolenko. I just think he's got that ability to win tackles, bring the team forward. And I think he's one of them real pillars that the side's built on. So I just think Mykolenko, he's the most improved player for me this season. Forget he only got 2 in 2 games, which is great for the left back. But I just think Mykolenko, yet again, is just playing those real understated quality performances. That what he's doing is allowing you, if you like, better quality players to play really well.
Yes,
Stephen, who was your man of the match?
To be honest, it's like looking in a mirror speaking to John, because I'm going to say the exact same thing. I've got FootMob up here looking at the player ratings from Sunday, and they've given him a 7.9, and I think that's absolutely scandalous, because I'm going to say it now, and I might get some messages in the comments about it. That Mykolenko performance on Sunday, was the best performance I've seen from a left back since Leighton Baines was at the club. He was absolutely, from top to bottom, perfect. He did not put 1 foot wrong all match. There was one ball that went over the top towards the end when we were 1-0 up. He had Sterling in his back pocket as soon as he came on. One ball came over the top. Sterling went to sort of jump for it, and he leaned into Sterling. He went over and won a goal kick. And Leighton Baines used to do that every single week. And honestly, if you're talking about most improved players at the club, he's top of the list every single day of the week. I think he was really good when he came in under Lampard. I really liked him. Fell off a little bit in the second season, but this season he has been our unsung hero. And on Sunday, wow! He was something else, and he's quickly become one of the most solid left backs in the league. So yeah, he's my man of the match as well.
Yeah, and I mentioned it in the player ratings, but it's 3-3. I agreed. I said Mykolenko, and I did mine as well, just because, I think it was our Bob will put out a tweet yesterday. I'm not going to quote myself on that because I saw it off someone else, to be honest with you. But it was that over the summer, Mykolenko actually cut a holiday short to come back, and it was gym training, some intense one-on-ones. But it really shows you how much he cares about improving and the type of player that he is, because one thing I've always noticed is with Mykolenko is he's always been one to, when he has had a public platform, he's had no problem criticising himself. And that is something I like from a footballer, a sense of, you've got to have a bit of arrogance to be a footballer, naturally. But I also like a footballer who can point out the mistake and say, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to improve on. And he has done that. I think if the Premier League stole for some things from basketball and had a most improved player award for the Premier League in general, it wouldn't surprise me if Mykolenko was up there for the entire Premier League as most improved player. You asked 9 months ago, just as Lampard's tenure was coming over after those losses to Bournemouth and, the few bad games we had there. And you said, in a year's time, Mykolenko's going to back pocket Sterling like his child's play. He didn't make it look difficult at all. It looked at points like Mykolenko was finding it easy. You'd see the little smirk on his face after tackles and stuff. And it's like, The goal threat he's offered, the going for everything has improved so much. And in that Chelsea game, I think he was the main source to why I felt so confident that we're never going to score. Because a lot of that, they were trying to play a lot down Sterling's side, but no matter how hard Sterling tried, he couldn't get himself into the game. And I do think I agree with both of you that Mykolenko is the man of the match. And it's at this point, it's starting to not really become a surprise, really. But I do think that is all the time we have for this video. Thank you both for coming on for this video.
No problem, Callum. Do it again soon. Hopefully, we're talking about a win against Burnley as well next week.
If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitter at Everton Newsfeed. Follow everyone on the video in Twitter. They'll be linked down below. And we'll see you all for the next video. Goodbye, everyone.